YouTube comments from a video titled, How Much Food Can I Grow in 1 Year? Part 12.
At Roberta, HQ3VZ wrote,
Thank you. I've often suspected that my meager garden was not worth the time, effort, and cost of growing my own food. Now you've confirmed it for me. The only good reason would be that there's less pesticide. And also, if there's a global apocalypse and you can't get food at the supermarket, then your garden would mean the difference between life and death. Of course, then you'd also have to buy a shotgun because the neighbors would see your stash and would try to steal your food. And shooting a 70-year woman in the face with your shotgun would take all the fun out of growing your own vegetables. So, I went a little far there, didn't I?
At NAP585 wrote,
Mid-February. Here in America's Midwest, we can't dream about spring until April. Light snows like this sometimes persist into May. Gorwa lights and seed starters by the window are the only other option.
At Kiwi007 wrote,
Chickens are a lot of work. They will get into your plants. Potatoes, if you want large ones, don't harvest for 2 weeks after top leaves die off. Birds also like a sneaky peck at the tomatoes.
At Wanda Taylor 9504 wrote,
Organic only please equals no more hospital bills in the long run. GMO veggies do not make music. Organic nature does equals check out plant wave and hear your trees and plants make music. Yes, it is real. Loving AWARNESS 432 Hertz is the frequency of nature. Equals they HIGHJACKD our musical frequencies. And play all music TUNED to 440 Hertz cymatics and sonic geometry research. Yes, I am so sick of regular babble. Love to learn equals 528 Hertz equals love equals XO. All music can be converted out of 440 Hertz equals static blob with cognitive dissonance THGDON.
at MJB12141963 wrote,
Leaf blight. This can be reduced by protecting the plants you are having a problem with from rain and from water while watering. For me, it comes on worst at the end of the growing season. Try to keep leaves up from the ground. There are things you can put around the plants when you plant them in the garden to protect the plants as they grow. When you water, wet the dirt. That's where the roots are. Obviously, remember how big the roots are when you pull your plants up, so you know where to water on each one. I have not had a garden in a while and have forgotten what some of this is called. Use fertilizer to get better yields. Composting and worm casting are other ways of fertilizing nearly free. Look for missing leaf flesh. Look at the bottoms of the leaves to look for insect eggs.
at Jeb Smith 323 wrote,
I think you've also realized that it takes much more ground to feed a family over a year. I grew gardens 40x60, tilled with a small rototiller after the first year. I was able to freeze tomatoes and okra and can beans, but I still only put away enough for about 1 meal a week. We ate it up by Christmas every year. Backyard gardeners, particularly raised bed gardeners, have been romanced into believing they can be self-sufficient with very small crops. But really good for you. You learned a lot, got your hands dirty, and had a go. Stay the course.
At Tom VZ 2775 wrote,
Alex, one thing that tomatoes need is calcium. We get it by using eggshells. Once they are empty, we wash them and let them dry, then run them through a blender and make them fine as possible. Then place them beneath the plants. We also use 7 dust beneath the plants, and that controls slugs and the like. You did a great job for the first time. Keep working it and learning as you go. Also, you are on the correct track with bees.
Fatsman wrote,
In case anyone has a slug problem, ducks and mulch. Ducks aren't nearly as destructive as chickens, and their eggs command a higher price usually. Slugs don't like sharp things, like wood mulch also.
At Lallerbels 5985 wrote,
Growing vegi is making you happy. It's more healthy and in years it's cheaper, especially when you also pot them or freeze them. You could, instead of buying wood, trying to get wood for free. Also, gardening is good for you. It's pity we can't grow in the winter much.
At Stenchingsword 3659 wrote,
How can you argue that you want to save money and go for onion growing? Onion is the cheapest there is among vegetables. You didn't plan this financially, that's for sure.
Taltamir wrote,
Sugar is not only an energy source, it is also a building material for plants. They chain sugars together to make cellulose, which is the primary building material used to make plants.
At Dave Martin 1534 wrote,
Neat. Alex, with all the green tops of plants, I saw, do yourself a favor and search. You. Tube for garden lacquer. Vyak and I am supposing you just trashed the green tops, such a waste. This guy talks about jadam fertilizer that cost nothing but your effort. Seeing your soil, you could improve your soil just working with nature. He is all about natural fertilizers.
A Freaky Gardener 8033 wrote,
I have found a great source of information is homegrown veg. He is in UK and does containers, raised beds, and right in the ground. I have learned a lot from him, and he actually answers me when I ask questions. I grow potatoes in buckets similar to how he does, and that way you can just dump them out to harvest and don't have any damages from digging them up. Check out his channel. It's APOA.
As Seathruff Walls wrote,
Just wanted to say that there is a really good vibe in this video. It is a little gem with honest, informative content. Plus, you are really unpretentious, which I love, and it's delightfully tongue-in-cheek. Finally, the video is well edited. Bravo.
At Justin Stewart 4889 wrote,
You have to remember that anything you harvested will nutritionally be better than what you bought at the store since it is fresher. And if you didn't factor in that what you grew is organic, there's that. Along with that, you also have those startup costs that someone who already had those supplies wouldn't have had to front. So I could see it saving money. Also, due to inexperience, you didn't plant as smartly as you could have otherwise, which would have gotten you more bang for your buck.
At Beck 204 wrote,
Gardening seems like it can be fun, and I have a small garden, but it seems like each veggie is only good for about 1 to 2 meals. Tomatoes seem to be the exception.
Ashaki 3V wrote,
I'm sure this has already been said, but I feel like a more fair price comparison would be going to your local farmers market, assuming they have those in the UK like they do in the US, and using those prices to determine the value of your harvest.
Clearsheet wrote,
I like your approach, chill. Some info even for absolute never touch green grass townspeople, statistics to get to some conclusion. And yeah, sadly, it's very cost inefficient. Even if you were to produce twice as much, used your own seeds from year before, had no startup costs, etc., you would still lose just simply because of the amount of time you have to put in that would easily outwin even if you only did a job for minimum wage in that time. BUT, it's fun to do, and somehow feels satisfying to eat semtheth you've grown yourself. I know that as well. You do it for the fun and for the feels, not for the cost efficiency. And I feel like you had that approach, so well done and keep it up.
Zavináč v podtržítko i podtržítko R podtržítko a podtržítko L podtržítko 1 road.
A very easy way to get rid of slugs is to take an aluminum used / disposable pie / cake / biscuit pan, or even aluminum foil, and place a few peels from cucumbers in each pan skin side up and place them in infested areas. My understanding is that there is a chemical reaction, and what remains irritate the slugs. When planting seed potatoes, you can slice each into multiple pieces as long as there are 3 eyes / sprouts on each individual piece.
At Rokosum Sam wrote,
I think for saving money, it's not worth. Actually, you would even have to consider the time it took you to plant all the stuff, to build it, to harvest, to clean, and compare it to what that time would be worth with minimum wage, which at my country would be around 12 euros.
At Harry Dairyman wrote,
It's a thoroughly satisfying thing to contribute to your own survival. It's the reason the assisted living facility I work with has a lawn mowing business, a woodworking shop, and a massive market garden. It's not about the profits that could be made, that gets spent on the Christmas party. It's about seeing blokes who have been sheltered as long as they have been alive working a day and make the connection between work and reward. It's got to the point where they hate public holidays and cold snaps where nothing grows. I've got a bunch of people who love what they can do because it stops them feeling like a burden on the people and communities around them.
At Tea Fresh Hour 08 wrote,
Can also use another corner in your backyard to do your own compost pile and slowly start transforming all the soil in your backyard. BT oil is something you can spray that is organic and will save a lot of your crops.
Italian Cloroc 2606 wrote,
There are other benefits not immediately obvious. You grew food direct to plate without the carbon footprints of transport and storage. You got fresh food. You got food which did not have multiple applications of toxic chemical herbicides and pesticides, so better for your health. You had healthy exercise and gained skills and environmental awareness. You created greater plant habitat diversity and soil health in your garden ecosystem, which would have flow-on improvements for soil-dwelling organisms and critters, and the native birds, frogs, and lizards that need them. And you inspired a heap of budding or jaded gardeners on YouTube.
At Hassan Ahmed X6JV wrote,
Slug deterrent, use your pizza oven to burn some wood to ash, and use it when cool. Just make a border at ground level and up close to the timber of your raised beds.
A CB Co 5XX wrote,
If high-value crops are your target, go for more peas. Sugar snaps are $5/pound in my town, and a good trellis and staggered planting. You can grow a ton of peas in the spring before other plants. Easily can put up $30 to $50 just in peas. Cauliflower is also super expensive, but it takes up more room. I think grow what you eat and forget about the price, but if your goal is money saved, then I would condom more peas, cauliflower, herbs, and lettuces.
At the _passable_gamer wrote,
You don't need to plant the whole potato. Did you see each sprout off that potato? That equals to one plant. So in theory, you wasted that many potato plants. Also, you can go vertical with your tomato and cucumber plants.
At Minimi 8048 wrote,
Congrats, you grew a whole lot of cholesterol in 1 year. Most of what you grew is minimum 3 to 6 months and full of sugars. When SHTF tell me what can you grow in 7 days to keep you alive?
At Rakesavok 2468 wrote,
Now that you have the beds, compost the greens back in and buy worms.
Always put your scraps back in. So now you will start to save it as not a 1-year thing. Plus, for the bed you could have looked for fallen timber, and as for dirt you could find it next to the old fallen timber. It just cost me 64 typing this.
Kurt Dunlap 6818 wrote.
Great video. Thanks for sharing. One recommendation I would suggest in filling your raised beds is to only use compost and not your native soil in them. I started my garden plot using 6 garden frames left from the prior owner, and in more recent years started replacing them and expanding my frame plot. Last year, I went all out on my garden plot, which consists of what I call pottery grade soil. After learning of a no-dig method used by Charles Dowding, a market gardener in the UK, check him out on YouTube, I applied his methods to not only a no-equal dig plot, but also in my raised, planting beds in my red clay country garden. I had already been doing this in my frames and didn't even know it. It was a dismal and challenging start last year, but once Mother Nature decided to give us some natural irrigation, most everything flourished. Who knew that veggies could grow well in clay? Thanks again for sharing your experience.
Equel 2324 wrote.
I live in an apartment, so the garden part is impossible. But I'm thinking of starting to grow plants inside with growing lights. And this is exactly the kind of video I needed. I guess thanks, algorithm? Edit. Also, this comment section is wonderful for my goals.
At the Grim 418 wrote.
The first year is always the most expensive just for the setup cost. If you get heirloom seeds, you can save seeds from your harvest for next season and not have to invest in another shipment unless you want new crops. If you start your own compost pile throughout the year, you'll find you'll need less fertilizer. If you do end up getting chickens, they cost quite a bit in feed, but can offset in eggs. Keep pests under control. They produce a good bit of manure if you clean their straw into your compost pile. And if you plan on butchering them, you'll find an older hen that stopped laying might have tough meat, but can still be quite tasty if stewed or slow cooked. Urban farming can be pretty hard to offset the costs since you can't just mass plant and pull in huge harvests. And a small loss of crop is pretty noticeable. But as you get more established and find crops that grow well in your climate and resist the diseases prevalent in your area, you'll find more reliable results.
At JJ___way wrote.
Maybe you lost money by growing your own vegetables, but matter of fact is that you saved a lot of carbon in your soil. However, it's really cool that your harvest was mostly successful.
At Totherarf wrote.
If you have got the bug, there are things you could do now. You seem to have had one season growing. If you plan well, you can harvest and then plant in the same ground, increasing your productivity. The growing season can be extended by making a cheap cloche-type plastic cover with just sheet plastic and a few lengths of PVC pipe. Companion planting can make your plants more healthy and deter those predators. There are better methods of chitting. An empty pop bottle with a series of small X cuts in can hold a large amount of garlic. Cut the base off and wedge your garlic in place, then spray daily with water inside the bottle. After the roots show, you can stand in a shallow bowl of water to allow condensation to do the misting for you. Again, look at your spuds. Cut into pieces with at least an eye on SCH piece. Use cocktail sticks in the spuds to suspend over a jam jar with the water just below the spuds so the roots dip into it. Okay, I'll stop now. 0. But these are a good addition to your garden. Check out Doug and Stacy for some great beehive tips as well as gardening food. And never stop having fun.
@Richuildes_convrote.
I can totally empathize with the slug anecdote. Similar thing happened to me. Expect I woke up with it sat on my chest, staring at me. I sleep like a rock. It could have been anywhere. I always sleep in a bug net now. Great video too. Subscribed.
Jeffrey Groen 9191 wrote.
You might want to invest in a composter. Buying soil is too expensive, and the soil stored in a plastic bag for who knows how long ain't that great. You can just dump your garden and kitchen scraps up top and scoop perfect living soil from the bottom. The composter attracts a lot of insects, kickstarting your garden to become a living ecosystem. Keep this up for a year and you'll be amazed how good your soil will become. Also, I find it real satisfying to transform my trash into the black gold that veggies love.
Sabaka Dimitrivanovye 540 wrote.
You should search for some heirloom tomato seeds since they are not bred for their looks. And how long could they last on a shelf? They are one of the tastiest things you could ever eat. Also, you could try searching what plants you could plant together since some complement each other and create more resistant crops. For example, you could plant basil near tomatoes to deter some pests.
Ibarra wrote.
Tomatoes go black when you water them wrong. Water the roots and avoid getting water on leaves and fruit. This will stop them going black. Good luck next year.
Conceal wrote.
I think the tomatoes lack calcium. Make sure to put eggshells at their feet. It will be a quick fix. Add some fertilizer if you can. When you remove the weed, it will boost your production by 20 to 30%. Best of luck.
At LPL Fan 81 wrote.
Small early potatoes are a delicious treat. Here in Finland, people wait anxiously them to appear in store shelves in June to serve them melted butter, dill or spring onions, and pickled herring or graved fish.
At Lisabelle 999 wrote.
If you compost during the year/winter, your soil enrichment is free. Also for year 2, your plants give you seeds to use for the next crop, so also free. Annual seed exchanges will get you most of what will grow locally. Usually free. Really hard to put a price on food that is so healing, delicious, and nutritious. Just not available at the market. Loved the video. Good luck with the bees. BTW use a feather to move them around. Old school.
Tefrana Spoops wrote.
Stumbled upon this by accident, but what a wonderful video. My husband has been really keen to start growing his own, and after seeing this, I think I'm actually keen to do it too. Thanks, Alex. What a joy it must have been to harvest your first crop.
Craftwork 2K6 wrote.
Seeing as food prices are exploding and due to the supply chains being torn apart and inflation is skyrocketing, you will save a lot more money with your self-grown veggies in 2023. Plus, you know where your food comes from. I wish you the best of luck with your coming harvests. The food you grown yourself always tastes the best. And make sure you don't grow the same things in the same field, but swap them after every harvest. You absolutely don't want a monoculture as it ruins the soil and rendering it useless to grow anything there.
A Jansen team wrote.
This was my second year of gardening. Don't forget that your veggies are probably organic, which are more expensive at the store and better for you. And next year, you will only need a bit of compost to top off beds and seeds. Next year is your win-win year.
A Pavia 1525 wrote.
Americans spend billions every year making the land they own covered with worthless grass that they treat with millions of pounds of dangerous chemicals, all so they can say they have a green lawn.
Caddy Cumchill wrote.
With the slugs you need to surround the beds, with really coarse pine bark, and set glass jars in the ground, with few centimeters of beer in the bottom. They go for the beer rather than cross the pine bark.
Caddy Cumchill wrote.
With the zucchini or corsets, you call them get little soft makeup type brush, and brush the pollen from flower to flower and will triple your yield.
Caddy Cumchill wrote.
Could screw lengths of gutting to the fence too, and fill them up with lettuce, strawberries, or other fragile greens. We neglect how much vertical growing areas we have.
Caddy Cumchill wrote.
Hey, Alex, where you have the clay in your bed, just start throwing every bit veggie scraps, lawn clippings, brown leaves, ask the neighbors, and just keep digging it through. And before you know it, it will have broken down the clay.
Adana Brook 10 wrote.
Good job for your first stab. Garlic is a fall planting and need to winter over. As you saw, your garlic didn't have time to develop into full heads. What you harvested is where they should be in the spring. Still tasty, but they could have been complete bulbs if they had more time. Next year, plant in Septarock Tide. Clip the scapes in early summer and make garlic greens pesto. It's amazing. It's a learning process. Sweet open out knife. They're great. Even the most seasoned gardeners struggle with pests and disease. Pro tip: once tomatoes reach a foot or so, begin removing the closest leaves to the ground. By summer, you should have at least 1 foot of bare stem at above the ground. This slows the inevitable blight. You would also improve your harvest by mulching. When you water the soil, it spatters soil and fungus, etc. up onto your plant, which promotes disease. Your vid made me want to start some beehives, which I'm researching now, so thank you.
A Super King Anthony wrote.
Good job, brother. Welcome to self-feeding. The first rested-looking plant is calcium and magnesium deficient. You also have powdery mildew. For mildew, use diatomaceous earth. It is food grade and will also kill the slugs. Spread a border and dust the plants. The plant that went to black rot also lacking calcium and magnesium. If you harvest the zucchini smaller, you will get more grams for the advantage centimeters. Overall, great job. Don't forget there is the quality of vegetables to factor. Yours are far superior to mass-produced. If you do chickens, cover the boxes with chicken wire.
A Drummond 06 wrote.
We don't grow veg to save money. It's a hobby that costs time and money, but you get so much from it and can grow things you can never buy in the supermarket. Plus, nothing compares to a freshly picked tomato.
At Rich 7934 wrote.
Great job for a first year. I would say this year or next year, 2024, it will be time to add a bag or two of compost to refill the nutrients unless you have access to an old pile of leaves and/or cow horse manure. If you use leaves or manure, put it into the beds in early winter. Unless you have access to aged manure 6+ months old, hot manure will kill plants. As the bacteria are too active, also your neighbors might be a little close for manure usage, unless they also garden. Hope the second year went well, and you are in getting ready for your third year. Suggestions: root vegetables in general, potato, carrot, beet, onion, garlic, shallot, etc. All like very loose, well-draining soil. So try to eliminate most of the clay from these beds and add some sand. The harder it is for the plant to push the soil, the smaller the fruit in the ground will be. Onion sets are a waste of money for a gardener, as they are too small to sell leftovers from the prior year and are really only good for growing greens, which are great in salads, stews, and soups, and can be harvested throughout the growing season. You get better onions from seeds. I would assume shallots' results would be similar. Garlic sprout bulbs by clipping the top of all the cloves and cutting where the roots exit the bulb. They keep them suspended in a tray of water, level 1/4 inch/6 millimeters up the bulb max. When sprouts start exiting the top, break the head into individual cloves and plant each clove. Each clove develops a new bulb/head. Potatoes.
Not sure if they also call them fingerlings in the UK, but in the grocers here in the USA, you can find bags of assorted small potatoes about the size of your thumb. They make great seed potatoes, cost less than bags of seed potatoes, and get you access to less common varieties: yellow, blue, purple, red, ringed, etc. They do tend to take longer to sprout due to anti-germination sprays that are applied for a longer shelf life. But if you soak them for a day or two before starting the chitting process, it will eliminate most of the spray. When it is time to harvest, wait until the leaves are almost all dead and the stem is starting to dry out, as green potato plants are still sending sugars to the roots. Most of those seed potatoes you planted could have been cut into 2 or 3 pieces. Each piece only needs to be about 1 pont 5" / 35 millimeters wide, with at least one good sprout, and plant them with the sprout pointed up. Slugs. Get a plastic takeout tray and cut windows out of the side about 1" 25 mm from the bottom and fill just short of the windows with leftover "what's that" or low-grade beer. IPA and lager seem to work, but they love the piss beers Busch Budweiser. They will climb in to suck suds and drown every couple days, dump it out, and refill. Those 2 courgette at 13.33, or what we call zucchini here in the USA, that looks like a powdery mildew attack. There are many solutions. It just depends on how modern or old school you want to go. Modern methods include chemicals, but an old method was to sprinkle baking soda on the leaves during the early stages. Unfortunately, powdery mildew attacks all cucurbita plants: muskmelons, cantaloupe, summer squashes, watermelon, gourds, cucumber, etc. Also, with any of these that tend to run vines, work great on trellises. You just need to tie mesh sacks to the trellis to support the weight of the fruit as they grow. Another benefit is that it keeps the fruit off the ground, so you eliminate the risk of rot and mold. Good luck and hope you continue your endeavor. And sorry about the above booklet.
A sapper 26 wrote.
You think you may not have saved dollars in the first year, but in the long run, it will pay off. And I hope you did save enough seeds from your plants for the next year, the ones that did well, that is. The first year is always the toughest, but well worth it, especially growing organic. Also, you know what you get when you grow your own.
A streak 0 R wrote.
Hey, Alex, love you videos. It's good to see younger people picking up these hobbies. For you and everybody else, I know you think bigger is better, but you do also want small vegetables. They contain much more flavor. Somewhat of a golden rule is to use the smaller vegetables for your diner, and the big ones are more suitable for soup making. Also, fresh small potatoes don't require peeling. It's more nutritious to leave the peel on, and you won't taste it. You just happen to always have tasted big, store-bought potatoes where the peel is much rougher and bitter. Try it, I would say.
At Rents Music wrote.
I had 2 apple trees on my balcony lol. One year the harvest was huge. Like 30 apples from one tree and big ones. At least for 2 months you can eat an apple every day. I can really recommend apple trees.
Cockin 113 wrote.
A tip, you can buy wood chips to spread out between your raised gardens. It'll make things better to walk on during wet periods and it'll look great. Your garden has so much potential to becoming a little haven.
Farmer Wayne 1404 wrote.
Looks great. I have a 4x4 FT and a 12x4 FT. Both have mesh covers with hinges. In my 4x4 I planted carrots, and in about 60 days I canned 12 QTS of carrots. Then immediately planted beets. I won't bore you with everything, but you can get a good amount of food from those beds. It's January here, and I am still eating spinach from the fall planting. Good work.
At Eldorandoke Farm wrote,
I love that you have done this. No experience, but you got in there and figured it out. One major tip, like you said, soil, is a love, and if it's not, your food isn't going to grow very well. So I'm not sure what you were getting water out of at 8:39, but if there's chlorine in there, please don't use it. Chlorine will kill all of the beneficial microbes, etc. in the soil.
At Boboffin 9952 wrote,
Stage your growing, for example, planting a week apart of the same crop means the harvest is a couple of weeks apart. For example, 2 crops of tomatoes a couple of weeks apart can mean 2 harvests a couple of weeks apart. Just watch out for the duration of the crop. How L9 and G it takes to bear fruit learnt this at age 5, 6 when all you did was write to the seed company for a free set of starter seeds for kids. Yates Seeds got me started.
At Boboffin 9952 wrote,
Feed slugs and snails beer. Put a saucer of beer out for the slugs and snails. They will come and drink the beer and get drunk and die. Works.
At Ujimimi Flip wrote,
I love courgettes. We fry them in a little butter and add some tomato paste. We also steam them in a microwave for about 9 mins on high. Unfortunately, you may have to use some slug pellets to get rid of those slugs. Some people put jars in the ground half full of beer and the slugs go in to drink the beer and drown in it, water away to die. I am surprised you didn't grow any runner beans. They are very easy to grow as long as you don't plant them to close together. They can be eaten raw in salads too.
At Gopherizer wrote,
Wives' tale says slugs will crawl on you as you sleep intent to suck the breath out of you. No, wait, that's a cat that does that. LOL, great gardens. Seems like zucchinis grow a foot overnight.
At Wolfgang Winchell wrote,
Economic, it just gets installing an automatic irrigation system, even W fertirrigation. See Guardian de la Tierra it, for the time spared in watering it all several times a day. You want to take vacation sometimes.
At Wolfgang Winchell wrote,
The sense of cultivating on our own equals having S. TH fresh cured onions are cheap €1/kg. In supermarkets all year round, I prefer prepare onion leaves too.
At Wolfgang Winchell wrote,
For the heat waves coming, don't forget to wet your heads in a great bucket of water in the shadow every half an hour in order to work at full sunshine in the heat. We had lots of times above 40 OC, which equals dangerous. 104 OF also.
At Wolfgang Winchell wrote,
I built the high raised beds from mud, clayish soil, soaken in water. All around each, instead of wood or metal sheets, heat up in sun. A lot's cheaper DIY. It hardens up sufficiently and easy to repair if needed.
At Wolfgang Winchell wrote,
Curing, we loose the onion's green leaves, which could be prepared for conserves or everyday W the rest of veggies. We hardly reached that point of curing for harvesting any onion before it had a flower.
At Douglas Windsor 120 wrote,
One way to get more crop and have a use for those pesky weeds and all your grass clippings is go to David the Good YouTube Chanel and set up his fetid swamp water barrel. I saw it on Black Gumbo YouTube Chanel. I tried it too. Make use of all the weeds if I leave the area of ground between the back fence and the lane for a couple of days. The weeds take over, so it's a never-ending job to pull them out, and putting them into the barrel now I can get something out of them, and by watering the garden with the swamp water, I tripled my crop. Now I've got to set up a cold cellar as my potatoes have sprouted.
At Taniacolitz 6490 wrote,
It depends if you live in Texas. None. Bad soil, terrible climate, too hot, too cold, too much everything. I gave up and started hydroponics indoors. Traditional gardening here is beyond frustrating.
At Ashton Cunningham 6981 wrote,
Ema potato farmer. Their spot where put all or leaves lawn trimming. It had nice soil planted potatoes 3 years ago, dug them up first, and 2 net apprentice didn't find all of them, and had more. Didn't dig them up this year. The area was plants. I'm wondering what's going to happen. I've never killed a plant, but they have gone brown. Always joke having brown thumb.
At Schlark 2478 wrote,
With your courgette leaves turning yellow, when watering, do not get water on the leaves. Also same for squashes. As others have said, just take the spuds you need as they are fine left in the ground. Also, use a drop of tamorite every now and again to boost tomatoes, etc. Great result for a novice.
At Nomad_Dev wrote,
During the Great Depression, my grandparents knew what was going on, but it did not affect them whatsoever. They grew their own vegetables and grain. Grandma knew how to sew, cook, and take care of 8 children. Grandpa knew how to raise cattle, hunt, and fish, and take care of 8 children. They didn't only survive, they thrived.
At CT 1762 wrote,
If you want to be truly sufficient, it'd say you need some chickens at the least. Geese and ducks are great too. Need to eat more animal products, or you will look and feel like a walking corpse after a few short years.
At the tech admin wrote,
1412, I'm good with electronics. And anytime I hear about people having problems with slugs, I think about this small double wire electric fence thing I'd like to make and test. But where I live, we don't have many slugs to test it out on. If you're interested in such a device, let me know. I could make it into a kind of roll of clear tape with 2 wires running through it. You'd surround the perimeter of your garden structure with the tape. Clamp the provided clips, then plug it into an electrical outlet. The complex electronics would be contained in a small box between the outlet wire and then parameter fence wire.
At Audrey Robinell wrote,
Don't forget herbs. They can give you a constant yield of fresh basil leaves at almost no cost, very little work to maintain. I have some basil plants that are multi-years old. Also, you paid more to build up the soil. Add mulch, always mulch. Make your own compost, or even better, lumber compost, and you will drive costs down and productivity way up.
At John QN6X wrote,
Try using some desalinated sea minerals to see how big you can make your yield of edible plant parts. They're different mass-produced commercial products for farming entire fields, like C90, is it C90? And C-crop. It doesn't take a whole lot, and you really don't want to use too much, because you can kill your plants. The right amount makes for very healthy plants that get huge, apparently. Another thing is specific strains of mycorrhizal fungi. They will feed the roots of the plants with extra nutrients that the root system of the plant would not be able to collect from the soil by itself. World record plants have been grown using mycorrhizal fungi.
At DirectGodness 7506 wrote,
Use all your vegetable waste and some dead leaves to make compost. I do it in a small garbage can and don't even turn it. I get about 25 gallons of rich compost in about 3 months just throwing waste in the trash can lull.
At Douglas Harley 2440 wrote,
You can cut the seed potatoes into halves or even quarters. If there's an eye present on the chunk, it will develop into a plant that will dramatically increase your production. Sweet garden. Respect.
At CRISPR-Cas 4555 wrote,
You might have lost in money, but you gained experience and had better food for your body. That helps better health. What is the price for good health? I planted a grapevine my first year of growing 2016. Purchased it about 4 feet tall from the garden center, 10 pounds I think it was. I had this year 35 kilograms of grapes from it that I could access. First year I got nothing. Second year was poor compared to each year after. Look at things that regrow if you can, like the strawberries and chives. That way you don't need to buy more seeds or harvest seeds and remember to plant. I keep saying this year rhubarb and then forget. End of the day, as you will know, the feeling of it coming in the back door from the garden, rather than the front door, is worth the time and effort. You can't beat the feeling.
At Joe Schmo 7967 wrote,
I have never had it really be cheaper to grow your own. I have always gardened for two main reasons. One, I love the whole process. Two, taste. Homegrown are most times better tasting, and of course super fresh. If I had an acreage, I would think in terms of growing virtually all my vegetable, but in the city, taste and satisfaction are the motivators.
At Merspagadius wrote,
Pick the tomatoes as soon as they begin to blush. Once they do that, they won't get any bigger, and the longer you leave them out, the more likely something else will come along and nibble on them. Also, leave the potatoes until the leaves start dying back and turn brown. They can die even, and then dig the tubers up. Your courgettes, summer squash in the States, look like they got downy mildew or some other fungal disease. I think a copper fungicide would help that. I would join a local gardening group. They'll have a LOT of wisdom for you. Your first effort was a LOT more successful than mine. Good job.
Christopher Dine 1258 wrote,
Potatoes, onions, carrots are stupidly cheap in Australia. We grow most of our own food and can't import from cheaper countries the way most of Europe and the US can. So I can only imagine how cheap those items are in your local markets. Even in Oz, they are considered to be a waste of time in your home garden. Most recommend leafy greens and herbs as they tend to be more expensive. Maybe try those next time around?
At Hannah 4891 wrote,
Hey Alex, do you know that you can prepare a nice pesto from the green leaves of the carrots? Just mix it with olive oil, good salt, garlic and roasted pines. It's really delicious.
At Itreed 20 Taken Names wrote,
I have tried to garden a number of times. Maybe I am just terrible at it, although I read the recommendations and try. But I think there is a reason most people leave it to the farmers, outside of Whitey. It is hard. Even many gardeners say, do it if it's your hobby, but don't think you will save money over the grocery stores. The economies of scale where they grow 10,000 cilantro plants and know exactly how to do it better/cheaper than you. A number of years ago, one gardener tried to grow home tomatoes and kept track of what they spent, even trying to save money. It was $18 per tomato, not accounting for labor. Not meant to discourage, but don't expect it to be as easy as plant, water, and harvest. It often isn't. I once tried to grow a pumpkin that grew 20 feet of vine, then got mildewy with no natural remedy working, and never made a pumpkin. A watermelon I once grew progressed to the size of a lemon, then stopped inedible but adorable for months of care.
At Glomontero 6011 wrote,
I appreciate your work. It gives me hope to keep going. I spent way more money than you, and I did not even get as much as you did. Oh well, there is always next year.
At Punification wrote,
£64 is pretty cheap when you consider the amount of satisfaction and fulfillment you get out of this. You paid for a nice connection to nature and outdoor time. I think that made it worth it. Nice video, man.
At South Florida Sunshine Tropicals wrote,
YouTube placing this below another video has now caused me to be a subscriber even though I am across the pond in a tropical climate and can't tell a visual story at all like you can. This was great. Beautiful B-roll and all the angles too. Amazing outcome for a newer gardener.
At Ninja5672 wrote,
Another debatable method for potatoes is to cut each seed potato so each piece has 2 to 3 eyes and then possibly let the exposed flesh dry a bit, or dip in wood ash before planting. My grandparents just cut them and tossed into the trench with appropriate spacing. The above method saves buying so many seed potatoes, but could be slightly riskier in poor soil.
At Daffree9732 wrote,
Word of advice I'm sure you might be discovering if you don't already know. Those boards will rot where water and soil meet wooden board. It's the same as with fence posts. The more the post suffers extended drying times due to high exposure to moisture, the longer it will be in the sweet spot for rot to set in. People say not to mix plastic with agriculture, but you can line the insides with basement membrane and separate it with horticultural fabric. This creates an impermeable water better to keep soil-bound water away from the sides and extend the life of the bed. Some basement membrane comes with raised cones that allows water and air to circulate around the wood. Just remember to drop snail pellet down there from time to time.
Paul Flute wrote,
Alex, you are a gem. Just gorgeous to watch you discovering this great joy. In terms of money, you don't need to count in your wood and soil as that's still there to use again. And remember that your veg is organic. I presume. So check your pricing for that. It's usually significantly more in the supermarkets. Well done. Oh yes, and that winter you began with was one of the coldest in 50 years. And was followed by a really weird and difficult growing year. I do hope you tried again in 22.
At Stacy Lynn 4414 wrote,
That was a great video. I really enjoyed your honesty. You did a fabulous job. Think fertilizer and look into neem oil. It's a great friend to have in the garden, and you'll get to eat more of your food.
At the Corruptor X wrote,
Try making a steel mesh archway. Put your cucumber on one side of it and train it to grow on the arch. Then you can pick cucumbers like picking apples or grapes.
At Unigirl TX wrote,
You may not have saved money the first year because startup costs for anything are expensive, but in the coming years you will see a savings. Also, you know where your food is coming from, how it's grown, what chemicals or lack of are used. It's food freedom, which in itself is priceless.
At Young Mama 90 wrote,
Here in New Zealand, that would equate to $180 plus some. So well done, you. So inspiring. Love the way you talk. So interesting you are. Also love the birdie.
At Alex Jork 7982 wrote,
Love the video. I'd like to do the same when I get some land to try it on. Be hard in Sweden in the city. Not so long of a summer, nor do I have the space. Managed 1 tomato indoors this year, haha.
At Jugadora wrote,
You've put garlic and strawberries next to each other, but they re-enemies as they take away from each other's nutrients rather than help each other. I recommend you look up permaculture and companion planting, and this is a great video nevertheless. Thanks for the hard work.
Edesrin Reinhardt wrote,
In the price, you can remove compost because it's useless to buy it when you can produce it. Just use whatever you don't eat and growing in your garden. The food who wasn't good to eat. And you save a good cost A&D produce a better quality compost.
Cat Littlest wrote,
Great content. You are a pure soul. Don't fret, it's the therapeutic value of gardening. Or some would call it pure joy. That makes growing your own food amazing. Good luck with the bees. But don't forget your garden, they go hand in hand.
Samilger wrote,
You won't save money the year you build the garden. Nobody does. But every year after you should save as only seeds as your cost. Even then, if you do it right, you make your own. At least that's my experience. Unless you get the wood and soil free. Compost your waste from now on. Keep it going. You'll save money year 2 plus 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 plus.
At Tricky666 Hands 9 wrote,
You grew a lot of produce that is cheap to buy in the supermarket. So what I've done is plant the more expensive vegetables, which saves money, and they're delicious.